Hey, what is up, guys? So it is another day and another news topic regarding the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and possibly a hint as to what's to come. So first off, when talking about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Russo brothers themselves said pretty much we're not going to have to simplify anything that is happening for people. We're not going to be doing the previously on in a Marvel movie and summing up everything that's happened. You either jump aboard the hype train and the bandwagon and you know what's going on by catching up with all the movies, or you're a newcomer to this and you might be a little bit confused, but they're going to do their best to try to explain to you and catch you up with everything there is that's going on to try to, get you going, specifically when it comes to Infinity War. Now, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, obviously, I have strong feelings about this, and being a lifelong comic book fan, I kind of agree with this. There's been, at this time now, there's 13 Marvel movies out there. There's 3 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 2 of Agent Carter, 2 Daredevil, 1 Jessica Jones. There's a lot of Marvel out there that's all part of the same universe, building up the, history and the lore and just adding to it. If you're going to a brand new movie, if your first Avengers movie is going to be Avengers Infinity War, let's say when it comes out, or if it's Civil War, you're probably going to enjoy it, but you're not going to have the investment that everybody else does. I mean, the reason Civil War works is because we've seen all of these characters grow up on screen in front of us and become the people they are. We've seen Tony Stark go through the struggles of being the merchant of death to being reluctant of doing anything and an alcoholic, and then finally, the way he is in Civil War. We've seen Steve Rogers evolve to a completely different character than what he started out as and how his beliefs are going and everything. So this all makes sense. So in one way, I support everything they're saying here, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Now, next up, they gave us a scoop, as they called it, which was pretty damn awesome that they're aware of this. And they said that there's a highly probable chance, and it will in fact, be changing names. Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 will be different. Now, there's a few ways I feel about this. Obviously, we've heard multiple times from multiple people involved with it that both Infinity Wars are going to be substantially different movies. That, just because they're Part 1 and Part 2 doesn't necessarily mean that they are the same film. Now, when you see that there are films in between the two, this makes a whole lot more sense as to what they're saying, because, Part 1 and Part 2 implies when Part 1 ends, that Part 2 would pick up, kind of like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. Now, this could be a problem if that's not the case in the final movie, so I see why a name change would be necessary, and I 100% once again support this. Now, I think the bigger problem would be having 2 Avengers movies like this back to back, and how does that do at box office, and how's the awareness? Now, granted, they could call the first one Avengers, Infinity War, and then maybe the second one Avengers Infinity Gauntlet, or Infinity, whatever they go with, and there they make that connection. But in the long scheme of things, I think it's going to pay off more, because the second part will probably get a lot more attention if the first part is an amazing movie. And the last thing I want to talk about is them specifically talking about other characters they would like to include in here. Now, I've talked about a potential, deal that could be happening between Fox and Marvel down the road, and they specifically seem to keep on mentioning that Wolverine is a character they would love to use. Wolverine is a character they've loved since they were children, that they would like to somehow incorporate them in here. Now, let's be honest, this isn't happening anytime soon, possibly. And this is one of those weird things where, much like Spider-Man, after The Amazing Spider-Man 2, notice how everything changed when they were talking about Spider-Man. They constantly kept saying, oh yeah, we would love this character, we'd love this, we would love him to appear here, we would love to direct Spider-Man, we would love to oversee a movie. Notice how the tone changed, because before The Amazing Spider-Man 2, this was never a question. They would try to dodge it. Come, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and its failures, they start talking about it, and it raises my eyebrow and interest, going, why are they specifically mentioning Wolverine in everything they have right now? Which brings me back to my video of talking about, could something potentially happen? Now, recently they even talked about, how they feel about Spider-Man getting in there, and how there's multiple billion-dollar franchises that'll benefit everybody. And maybe they're trying to hint towards something being worked out with the X-Men universe. And honestly, I think pretty much everybody watching this video would love to see the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Wolverine appear alongside the Avengers at some point. So who knows, maybe they're dropping hints, maybe it's nothing, maybe we're just reading too much into it, but I guess we'll find out soon. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on everything, and if you're liking the content, maybe I'll like and subscribe.